Hey everyone. In today's video, I want to cover a topic that I see a lot of people talk about on the Facebook forums, the CFMOTO ZForce Gen 2s, whether it be the trails, the sports, and the amount of heat that they create inside the cab. I, as well, was one of those complainers when I first got this side-by-side. And I figured today is a rainy day, why not, do a slight modification to my side-by-side, and maybe I can help some of you viewers or you browsers out there looking to cool off your side-by-side. So the one thing that I have to cover is the majority of the heat that comes from this cab, because I'm going to be completely honest with everybody that's watching this video. I don't get a lot of heat from the motor. I think CFMOTO did a pretty good job sealing up the motor area, where a lot of the heat that comes into this side-by-side, especially in the summertime, is not when we're out riding dusty trails, warm trails. It's when we're hitting the slop, the water, and the mud. The reason why that is the majority of the heat that comes into this side-by-side is not necessarily from the motor. Yeah, you're going to get some heat from the motor. It happens. The majority of the heat comes from when this hits water, either from the radiator or the radiator hoses, which run down along the inside tunnel from the radiator all the way back to the motor. When they get wet, they're so hot that they steam. What happens is, if you were to take off the tunnel, and I have mine off, and I'll show you the mod that I did. When you take your tunnel off, you're going to see how open it is down underneath here. And when the steam is radiating up through either your shift handle or your emergency brake, or even up behind the dash. I'll show you a trick that I did in the tunnel to eliminate a lot of steam coming up in around the front of the dash. I was doing a ride with the Beaten Trail one weekend, and I had Mike with MFR with me, and it was Mike with the Beaten Trail, Keith, and Gary. And we were riding AOAA, and I had my bent metal windshield in, and had the wiper going. Everything was working great. It was a nice cool day, a little bit of drizzle here and there, and that made for no dust, right? But what I found was the inside of my windshield was fogging up horribly, and I couldn't figure out why until I hit this one puddle, and it literally looked like steam was coming up out of like radiator vents up in my windshield. So what I did is I went down underneath and started feeling around down where the tunnel connects to the floorboards, and there's a decent sized hose wiring that runs down from the dash back to the engine area, and there's 4 or 5 holes down in the tunnel. When you take the tunnel out in the floorboards, I'm sorry, you're going to see all these holes. So what happens is water not only splashes up in there, also steam from riding radiates through there and comes up into the cab and also up on your dash. So if you're finding that your windshield's fogging up in your ZForce, most likely it's coming from the tunnel, the front of the tunnel where it connects to the floorboards. What I do is, everybody has packing, right? Everybody gets shipments, whether it be Amazon, or let's just say you bought your grandson or your child a bicycle, it comes packed in styrofoam. So this was just a piece of styrofoam from packing, right? And what I did is I cut it and I fit it to the width of the tunnel in the top there where the wire goes in, and I shoved it down in as hard as I can. That was a huge win for me right off the bat. And what that did is, not only did it cure the windshield from fogging up from the humidity, but it also blocked water from coming up through those 5 holes in the floorboards, hitting that back of the tunnel and acting like a wave. Because one day my wife and I were riding with our group, and we hit this deep puddle, and all of a sudden water started pouring in up on top of our feet. And I'm like, this thing sealed up pretty good. I mean, I've gone through a lot of water and never had any issues with any water coming into this cab, very rarely. But I hit this so hard that I think it just had its force, shoved its way up into up against the floorboard, through the holes, and shot up the tunnel down over onto our feet. Since I did this, we don't get water in here hardly at all anymore. So that's one tip. The second area where a lot of steam comes in is through the tunnel where the shift boots, where the shifter and the emergency brakes are. If you look down through there with a flashlight, you're going to be able to see that that's just a massive vent area. So even though I plugged the front tunnel, okay, I still get steam and humidity that radiates up through where the shifter area is and also the handbrake, okay? And all I did is I went to Amazon and I bought a shift boot, one for the front and one for the rear, one for the shifter and one for the handbrake, sorry. And I'm gonna show you guys. Now, when these come from Amazon, they have there's like a metal in here and it's bendable, all right? What you're gonna do is you're going to place it over top of the shifter, push it down as far as you can. I already put the tunnel back on this and tested it. I had a couple bolts in it. It fits fine. And all you're gonna do is you are going to form this metal formable shift boot all around your shifter area. Now, the handbrake doesn't have the base. The shift handle up front has a very large base that it's bolted to, everything's bolted to, that you have to manipulate that steel, that metal thin rod. The handbrake does not. So all I did is just lay that over my handbrake. There is going to be a slight area in the back where actually it's not going to be sealed up, but it's going to be sealed in the front. It's also going to be sealed in the shift area. I could always stuff a rag down behind the handbrake to fill that void. I might, I don't know yet. I want to test this out and see how it does. But I know by doing this, plugging the front hole for the tunnel, okay, in the floorboards, applying a shifter boot to your shifter handle and then to the handbrake is going to eliminate, I'm going to say over 90% of the humidity and the heat that comes up along the tunnel area. I see people rip the plastic out of these things and lay welding blankets down. They lay all kinds of stuff. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, oh my God, that's a lot of work. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to take the camera down now and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I did. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera and show you guys exactly what I did here. So, all right, let's get down here. It's kind of hard with this 360 cam. So if you guys can see, that's pretty much how it's kind of molded to fit over, my leg's in the way, sorry, to kind of fit over this shift boot. All right, so I lay it over, push it down as far as I can, try to mold it around it. You got to watch this bolt hole right here. You should, push. I actually ended up putting a screwdriver in here and bending back on the metal that's inside this boot. And then obviously you can pull down on this and get that to seat. I'm going to try to, I'm getting out. All right, here we go. We're going to do this again. There we go. Here's the shift boot. And as you can see, there's really nothing under here, right? So I just pushed this down as far as I could. And, it's down on there really well. So let me get a better shot of this. All right, there you go. Now, if you look down there, I don't know if you guys can see that. Don't mind the wires. You see these 5 holes? All right. Now, I'm pretty sure that part of the tunnel slides into those, okay? But they're not sealing them up. There's no seal whatsoever. So when water comes through those 5 holes, it shoots right up into the back of your, say, firewall, all right? Down on your feet. But even if water is not shooting in, all that steam coming off the radiator because you're moving forward is coming through here and going right up that tunnel. So that's why I take a piece of foam and I shove it down in there as tight as I can. And, it really cut out a lot of the steam. So one other thing I want to note, and again, it's a rainy day here, so I figured what the heck, make a video, right? Let's go ahead and flip this bad boy around. While you're in here, make sure you get in here. There's a door right here, okay? All right. There is a Zerk fitting on your drive shaft up here. Make sure you grease that fitting, you should be greasing that fitting at least, you know, once or twice every, you know, 1 or every 2 rides. Give some grease to that. Here's another side shot, emergency brake, shift handle, and then I'll show you guys a little bit of video when I put it all back together. All right. All right, guys. So as you can see, there's the shift boot. All right. Don't mind the mess here. I did that. And there is the, there we go. It's hard to use this. I'm actually using like it's a 360 gyro cam. It's called an Extra Muse. Right in here is where I can get my finger down in there. I could probably put, you know, maybe a rag in there, but when this is down, it's open. It's opened even more. So stuffing a rag down in here maybe, or wrapping a rag around this will help to keep some of that out. But this is completely sealed up in here. Right here, hold on, there we go. Right here, you can see the piece of foam. You see the hole down in here? Where my fingers, what? Where my fingers are going in there? This is wide open, guys. So I just take a piece of foam, I stuff it down in there as hard as I can, and it really helps cut down on a lot of the steam and such that's coming up through here. So I hope you found this video useful. You know, I figured it was a rainy day. Why not come out here and have a discussion, and actually I can help save a problem for myself and try to cool down my side-by-side even further than what I already have. So if you found the video useful, like, share, drop us a comment. You know, leave us a comment and let us know what you did to cool your ZForce down. Thanks for watching. We appreciate your support, everybody. Have a great day.